You ready? Okay. Hi, good evening, everybody. So welcome to the Human Services Committee. This is December the 13th, 2022, 5:30 p.m. And we are doing so remotely by Zoom. So you can join Zoom meeting https://townofbarnstable.us.zoom .us/j/886-905-12279 meeting ID 886-905-12279 one tap mobile 833-548-0282 US toll free 877-853-5257 US toll free /888-475-4499 US toll free 833-548-0276 US toll free meeting ID 886-905-12279. I am going to call the meeting to order, and I will do so with a roll call, please. Just doing the, when I was putting it down, State Representative Steve Seros.
Present.
Committee member Liz Riverdale. Might come in later. Committee members Scott Fitzgerald.
Present.
Welcome. Committee members Carlos Barbosa. Carlos, I saw you up there.
I see him.
I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm here. So
That's all right. Committee member Megan Moore.
Present.
Committee member Kim Crocker Crowther.
Present.
And myself, Cheryl Powell. Wow, we have a good one tonight. Pity we don't have a speaker, so I am going to relay some of the things. We have a standing item on the membership, still trying to attract people for, see if we can get some alternate positions in there. We need to get alternate positions because we do have a full committee. And I've now had a contact to try to create to get the interest in the youth position, which would obviously be non-voting because it'll be, less than 18, but I do think it's important to involve the youth. And I did send an email to Matt Levesque. Is there anything else? And I think to the appointments committee, is there any other thing I need to do on that, Cynthia? Or I'll send that again. Nope. Okay. I will check into that later. In a moment, I want to go to the discussion of priorities and plan of action. I am going to first ask for that and then go to that. And then go to that. So on the first thing, is there any public comment tonight? I'll assume that there is not. Okay, so but we'll come back to that. The next thing is some of the good news. I've managed to line up 4 radio station. They are connected. We will have 30 minutes every quarter on all 4 radio stations to promote what we're doing.
Wow.
Yeah, thought you'd like that. I see a smile.
Yes.
I'm meeting with the contact on that. I've already met, but they said, yes, you got it. Let's get together, but let's wait till after Christmas. That's totally understandable. So we're getting together the first, second week of January. We're going to I'm putting together the treatment for it. And that will allow us to promote some of those efforts. So that's some of the good news. The other thing I wanted to mention is I'd hoped for the January meeting, but we may have to move the December speakers because Christmas comes up and everybody's schedule is packed. We may have to move that one to January and the January to February. So I think I mentioned before, Dr. Eric Bornstein out of New York. We don't have a budget, so I'm trying to work out a way to do that. If I have to, I'll pay for it myself. But I think it's one of the key areas because he has brought communities together on the overlapping issues with a huge success rate at the schools that he says the key is starting with youth and education, and the areas where he has put together some of these programs, their addiction and mental health issues have gone down 85%, which is nothing to scoff at. So it might give us some ideas on putting it together. So we're probably going to put our final package back to February, but I'd rather have it be something that's well worthwhile than just kind of putting together reports on the people. I will have by the end of the year a packet to everybody which is a breakdown of all the speakers we have had, from NAMI, Cape Cod Healthcare, from Gosnold, from housing, from Chief Sonnabend. You missed the chief last time, Stephen. It was absolutely fabulous. The one that I was hoping to get St. Joseph's with regard to the shelters and homeless and food services in that tonight. Also, the chief of fire department, but their schedules were full, so I'm hoping to schedule them on next month and then move Dr. Bornstein back. If I do, I wanted a little bit of feedback on that. If I can get Dr. Bornstein, because this is going to be cost, but he goes over the whole addictions piece nationally and state, the impact on, because he is also a doctor that specializes in this, its impact of how it becomes the big issue, how the addiction, I mean, as a practitioner, I have to deal with the addictions, but why it is so lethal in our society and why it is expanding at such a rapid rate. But I'd like to I would not arrange that just for our committee. I would open it up to the town council. I would bring in the schools. I would bring in other community, all the people that have spoken to us to help us put together the overall program in the end, so that we're literally doing what we're supposed to be doing. And that is, I mean, they list 41. I'm going to invite the other 50 or so that we've identified to come in and listen to this, so we can look at the various aspects. But how would the committee, this is the source. So are the committee members okay with that?
Well, I think that's
for it, but are you okay with it?
that was going to be a suggestion, if it could be opened up, and especially if there were a cost associated with it, if there was a way to include some organization within the town that has a budget that could subsidize whatever the cost would be, that might be, a good way to, to cover those costs.
I can clarify a little bit on that, because this fellow my association with him is that I've done 2 years of training on addiction, simply because I needed to step up to the plate for my patients, because it's so comorbid with it, as Kim knows, but as it is with hers as well. I've done 2 years of training with him, and which is how I met him. But the thing is, that's through the Institute of National Resources. So he trains doctors, nurses, and that. But he had mentioned that we could go through them, and they could charge for CEUs for people who could get some credits out of it. But I did go to the town attorney's office at Cynthia's wise advice, and it has come back that we cannot charge for anything. But I think checking with someone else, some other organization, to see if they have a budget, Scott, is an excellent idea. But we have to be careful that we don't violate anything. We'd have to still run it by the town attorney's office. So we can't charge. We can't even charge for the CEUs. But that's why it's going to take an extra month also to put it together on that.
Definitely.
I think your suggestion, I hadn't thought about going to another organization, but
who may have a training budget available and could co-sponsor the event, or something along those lines.
Only one I can think of, because he's an addiction specialist who deals with all the other community stuff, would be Gosnold, but I'd look into some of the others as well.
Yeah, I don't know if Duffy would be open to some involvement.
I think, Madam Chair, Megan has a question. She's got her hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, Megan. I didn't see her hand.
Sorry. I'll shut up now and let others talk.
You're fine. Thank you, Megan. I'm sorry. I didn't see your hand. You're at the far left of my screen.
No, that's fine. It was, I'd be supportive of this too, but is there any chance we could get somebody from family planning, like health imperatives?
Sure. I'm sorry.
I have connections with Karen Carl. I can always email her and see if one of them can come over and just make their resources known to everybody here, but they're pretty important. They're the only reason that I've actually had any access to reproductive health care since I was a teenager. And that's same for most of my friends.
Absolutely. Let's communicate outside of the meeting and put the contact together, so we're not putting it over the camera on public. But yes, I think that's an excellent idea.
Okay, sorry for the interruption. Just wanted to get that out there before it went out of my head.
No problem whatsoever. Anyone else? Okay, so I'll assume that everyone's okay with the, if I do end up paying, I'd like to make sure our committee shows up for it, that we don't end up without a quorum. So that I will continue to try to organize. There is still no one in the waiting room for public comment, correct, Cynthia?
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Okay, and obviously anything we do, we have to clear with the town attorney's office on that. It's rather unusual. And the other thing I'd ask, Cynthia, the youth position, I had sent a email to Matt Levesque, and I think also to Jen Cullum. Is there anyone else I should send that to, asking if we can create a youth position? I'll send it again to them just in case.
No, that would be the only two people, Councilor Cullen being the chair of the appointments committee. And then obviously President Levesque as representation of the town council. So those are the two people you want to reach out to. Absolutely.
Okay, just want to make sure I didn't miss anyone. Okay, so I will follow up on that. Okay, so we've got that, we've got Bornstein, we've got the radio. I don't think there's any matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair unless somebody has something. So I'm bouncing around a bit, but I'm doing it for a reason, to eliminate stuff. If there's nothing there, discussion on priorities and plan of action. After we've had the other set of speakers, like with the fire department and St. Joseph's, because I do want to get in. It was Carlos, actually, and I hope you don't mind me mentioning it, Carlos, who mentioned some of the food pantry issues. It's not something I would be interested in doing only, but I think it's certainly a part of almost everything that we're dabbling in and trying to address. So I think it's very worthy, but, and that's why I wanted to bring in St. Joseph's. And I think Duffy's another good one. But what we need to do is, after we've had all this, is to try to formulate a proposal to present to the town council. So I want people to start thinking about everything, and you will have it before the end of the year, I promise you. A breakdown of all the people who have what they have had to say to us, and I'll separate it. I won't combine it all, just put it in one packet, but each person broken down on what their organization does. If we can then, at the meeting after that, try to sit down, and I'll probably also put a proposal in there, which is not finite. It's merely a jumping off point on where my thoughts are. And I'm sure everyone here, and I'm hoping everyone here will be able to expand on that, tweak it. I think this is a load of rubbish, or, hey, I like this, but what about that? And see if we can put something together. I have spoken with Dr. Bornstein with regard to the success that he has had, and at length, actually. And I think I agree with him that the youth is huge, which is why I want to do a youth position, but also to involve the schools. And that might also be where some of the food pantry stuff can help out. So that'll be part of the package to try to bring them in. But and I've only just managed to come up with a contact, because the obvious one is Barnstable High School. I've just come up with I've been kind of, since July, I've been trying to get through on that one, but I now have the contact on that. But to try to put it together, and then we'll put it before the town council. But as Cape Cod, I think we have something ideal here, because I mean, Dr. Bornstein's done this in New York, and I can't imagine how he did it in New York completely, because it's such a huge and dense population. Whereas here on the Cape, we have definitive communities. And which reminds me, I also wanted to bring in the Brazilian community as a whole, all the communities, but because we have such a huge Brazilian population, to get something going there. And also the Wampanoag tribe, because they're a part of it. So to try to do what we're supposed to do, which is to unite the community. But so we want to keep that in mind. It's not just for one area. It's not just mental health. It's not just housing. It's not just homeless. It's not just mental health. They're all overlapping, and we need to figure out some launching out point, which will then expand. Carlos, I wanted to ask you, and if you don't mind, I'm going to refer back to the conversation I had with you when we after the LPC meeting.
Please.
Thank you. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you were mentioning that the town has a number of facilities, a number of properties, whatever, that are unused. Is that correct? And actually, Cynthia might be better at answering that one. Is that what
Yes. Well, that's what I heard. Some property, there's still properties out there that can be used for a gathering of a food pantry, because Steve helped us to put together this food thing, but it's not enough. It's not being enough.
Mhm.
And can you imagine kids right now going through Christmas without making 3 meals a day? That's unacceptable.
I agree.
So I mentioned to you, Cheryl, before, last night when I talked to you, I understand we have other priorities, but this is, for me, need to be done now. Yes, we need to report that to the town council. It's going to take 3 months to get there, but we need to take care of this now. Now, I'm not talking about the immigrant community only.
I know.
Talking about families, American families going through making 3 meals a day.
Okay.
Kids going behind the high school, pick up the bag of the leftover food and bring it home.
Mhm.
So in this country, are you kidding me? This country had this kind of trouble?
I agree. Can I correct you here? You said that there are other higher priorities. There are not other higher priorities. There are lots of priorities and they all overlap. So they are a priority too. Is that fair?
Well, that's good. So, but I'm talking
I don't
about
want to
the report.
minimize them. Okay.
I'm talking about the report that you're going to do in the next 2 or 3 months. We
We're
need
going,
to take care. Let me, if you don't mind, I finish my point here.
sure.
Mental health issues. When you have no food on the table, everybody's going to suffer.
Mhm.
It's
So-
all connect. It's all connect.
Can I give you a task?
Please.
And if it's too much, please just say, actually, would you rather I call you and tell you about it, or I don't want to put you on the spot?
Put me in the spot. If we're going to feed people, put me in the spot.
So can you research? I've got a list of food pantries, but it's probably a year out of date. What I'll do is get that to you as a launching out point. You may already have an up-to-date one. If you could research the food pantries in Barnstable, no disrespect, but I don't want to go all the way out B-town and and all in Chatham and that. We have to concentrate on this area first, if that's fair, because we are Barnstable. So in the Barnstable area, can we try to focus on that first? And
We could. And I'll do that.
Thank you. I would appreciate that. Sorry to give you a pass, but I do.
Just to remind you, this is we started in Barnstable, but this is a Cape-wide problem, as Steve probably know that.
And nationwide, but let's get a program going here and expand it, because we'd have to go to the other town councils to really go out there. This is working. This is what we've done. Look at us and what we've achieved. Can we recommend we expand this to the next, to Yarmouth and then to the Chatham area and then to the P-town area? If it works, it'll grow.
But I just want to remind you that the conversation I had with you yesterday, if we can have the Barnstable Town Council create a food pantry in Barnstable and have all the other people come and gathering on the same spot, we don't have duplicate service. We can do one big thing. And we will help the Steve and Kip Diggs and everybody else. We'll be able to make this happen for the people here in Barnstable.
So, I'm sorry, Steve.
No, don't be sorry, Madam Chair. My friend Carlos is spot on.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this for probably 2 years at least. I just left the Bourne food pantry. So the town of Bourne has a food pantry. The town of Sandwich has a food pantry. Yarmouth has one. Falmouth has one. we need one in Barnstable.
I
So I
agree.
know that's where we're heading. Right now, there's different groups that have their own. But I
Yep.
think what Carlos is saying is we need one that covers the whole town. And somehow the other towns have done it. And I'd love to help have Barnstable, you know, be the pride of the Cape. It's the biggest town. The need is great. And, if you can help us focus on that, I would agree. And I'll
Well,
help in any way that I can.
I think it's part of the overall package, not only for, the other treatments and mental health and that, but also the food pantry. So that's one of the reasons we also want to know about locations and what's available. I will check into that. And Carlos, you're going to find out the other food pantries and what they are, which ones are still current, and we'll try to bring that together into the package. That's going to be part of in the next couple months, put it together. But I think the food pantry is something that needs to be up and running as well. But
thank you.
again, it's not our decision. It is our job to formulate a proposal, and that proposal is going to be in bits. There'll be an overall, the way I envision it is there'll be an overall, this is what we're going to try to do. And it's a little bit like the sewer system, not to put a rough, it's the, there'll be different phases to it and different parts to it. And that is a bad analogy. I apologize, but it is. You can't get it all done unless.
Cheryl, could I ask a question?
Absolutely. And welcome, Kim. I hope you're feeling better.
Oh, thank you. So I'm completely on board with the food pantry concept as well. I mean, I think when we're talking about basic human needs, everybody's spot on here, and food is clearly one of them. But I have just a more global question. Do we have, I mean, usually in a community setting, when you want to find out what the top priorities are, you do a community needs like systems assessment. Is there anything like that exists currently in Barnstable? Or like, do we need to do one? Because I'm just kind of curious about that.
There is, and the LCPC, as Carlos and Megan know, has recently tried to do it on a similar basis, but there's a huge cost associated with it, and we have a zero budget. So,
right.
So
I do have skill in that area too, and I'd be willing to work with someone on that. I just wondered if there was already existing data.
Okay, why don't we sit down and go over there? I'll let you know what we've already found out, and that's going to time you do that part if that's okay. Steve, you already have your job as you volunteered that you're going to find the money for this. But not
there
for,
has to be a way. We will find the way. Yes.
Not for Bornstein, because I'm the one bringing that in, and I feel it's not fair to put that cost on it. So if I have to, I'll cover that cost. I just feel that that's kind of the bring it all together part of it. So that's where it is, and I think I agree with Kim. It has to be more global as well. And I think, like with the LCPC, they put out these flyers, and then they have the, what do you call it? Not the barcode, but the thing that you scan into your phone. It escapes me, but you know what I mean, the black and white thing.
QR code.
QR, thank you. I was trying to think of it. Thank you, Cynthia. They've had some response to it, and a fair amount of response, but I was hoping we get some response back to it that actually would be useful, because it was kind of far-reaching, but it wasn't anything that I thought could be used as such on that. There is another group that I promise you all have reached, if they still exist. I think they do. By the next meeting, and that's the coalition. I was told to contact them because they did the database originally, and but I went on to their website because I thought we could adopt it, and the most recent update from what I could see was 2019, and the one before that was 2015. So a lot of it wasn't updated since 2015, but there were some updates in 2019. So I'm going to see if we can take what they had and then revitalize that, and bring them in, because they've got the software and all that stuff. So I think we're getting a lot more organized and getting things together. And I think schools are going to be important, especially with regard to food pantries and things like that. There's a few other things that are up my sleeve, but they're too early to report on. I'd rather report when I know that they're solid and that they're going to happen. So does anyone have, I'm going to take care of Duffy. Megan, you're going to get back to me on the family planning and the representative there with regard to the health and imperatives.
Yes.
Carlos, you're going to check out the food pantry list. I will get you the list that I have, so you have a nice lunch now point. It might already be done for you. How about that?
Oh, that'll be good.
Yep. Steve, you're going to check with Kip and Julian. And anyone else. I mean, if we're going to use this radio show, let's use this radio show. And that is one of the ways that we can actually advertise some of the food pantries, the mental health stuff, the shelters, bring all these things, you know, the homeless, to a lot of the people who are without food are homeless as well. So like I said, it's all kind of overlapping. But
I have a thought. It's Megan. Sorry.
Thanks.
I have a friend out in Minnesota who runs something called a supply depot, and it's a registered nonprofit, and they get monetary donations for things like non-perishable goods like a food pantry, but also little mini propane tanks, tents, those solar heat blanket thingies, sleeping bags, socks, and it's open so many hours, again, similar to a food pantry, and people who don't have those things are able to pick them up. And he does a really good job of running it, and it's pretty much open. It's kind of like, I don't know if it's entirely take what you need, but whatever's there, if it's available, you can have it as a homeless person.
Well, can I ask you, which you did say it, would you mind saying again where this, did you say Minnesota, or where is that?
Yeah, he's in Minnesota. I'm sure it's not the only one in existence, but it's basically like a food pantry for goods that you don't have and you might need as a homeless person. I know we're trying not to set up tents and all that stuff, but it's like ultimately if somebody is outside and they need protection, it is what it is.
I like it. I think it's an excellent idea. I want to be careful about the tents part. I think that requires a little more thought, because I don't want it to be that I'd rather find them a place to stay that has heat and water than an emergency shelter rather than tents, because I can see the town kind of
Right.
getting upset about that. You know, why do we have 200 tents parked on Main Street?
Right. But I mean, as far as jackets, socks, perishables,
Oh, yeah.
things that stuff
Absolutely.
like that, then
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. The only problem I have with that is the tents, and
okay.
yeah, but that's me personally. Remember, I'm only one voice here. I always, as I say on any other commission I'm on, I'm just the conductor. Steve.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Megan, double M, this is interesting. I've never heard of it, but real quick, almost like a one-stop place where someone in need could go and get a little bit of whatever they need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
You
posts
know?
the receipts online just for accountability. He posts the things that he needs, and when they're out or getting low. And it's entirely run out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I can ask him kind of how he runs it and how it came about. But yeah, like socks, hand warmers. If you're
Yeah.
homeless, you can't worry about refrigeration unless it's the winter, then it really doesn't matter. But still, you can't cook anything. Sometimes they have little mini heaters. I know on the town level, like we probably wouldn't be able to do it because again, liability for things, I understand that. But if there was a group or people interested, then I mean, we're talking about people living on the street. There's not emergency
Megan,
shelter always available, you know?
Megan, you might be able to partnership with the Salvation Army.
Okay.
Right on North Street. They could, they've got a building there that possibly could be cornered off a section just for those that are homeless, and our local authorities know who the, 54 that are currently on the streets, they know who they are.
Yeah.
And they know the chronic ones. And if they were to give the Salvation Army, say, a list of who that is, or some way of identifying them without a name, maybe just first name only,
Yeah.
they could pick up those items from the Salvation Army.
Okay.
That
I-
might be an avenue for you. It's just a suggestion. They've already got a building up.
Yep.
They
And it's a good
already,
location.
yeah, and they already help the underprivileged already, and they try to help as many as they can by feeding them as well. So it might be an avenue or a conversation you might be able to have.
Okay, cool.
And
Thank you.
actually, thank you, Cynthia. And actually, in addition to that, and also in conjunction with the Salvation Army, and I spoke with them yesterday and today, is the Council of Churches. And they often supply the food for like St. Joseph's and other places all the way out to New Bedford. They're going to also be speaking with us. Once after we put this plan together, we're still going to be adding people, adding groups. I'm just highlighting the most important ones to begin with. But Salvation Army, I had on there, but I kind of lost track of that. But thank you, Cynthia. I think that's a great idea because they're kind of part and parcel. And that might actually give a location. Carlos, I think I see your hand up.
Yes, I just want to make sure that the superintendent of schools here in Barnstable and also the principal of Barnstable High School will be involved on this conversation with the food pantry and identify those kids and families who have been having trouble finding food. So
I've been trying to reach certain people since July, and it was only in the past week that I got the contact on that. And I have somebody that is on that at the moment. I don't want to embarrass anybody. So they are making that connection. I was hoping by tonight, but I think that's going to work. That is well in hand. I hope to have a complete report on that. In fact, even to have their input on the next one. So that's that. I'm getting some other ideas here, but I think that's great. So I hope you guys don't mind me giving you jobs, but I thank you. And is there anything else that I think what I'm inclined to do here is put like the Council of Churches and the Salvation Army and see, I think Cynthia's got a great idea. If there's a room or a section there that we can ask people to go to donate and that kind of thing for gloves and stuff like that. I think we'd have to pursue further the idea of tents, but I'd rather find a location. But as I had mentioned to Carlos when we spoke, when you were talking about the feeding situation, if we got a location, I mean, it's not just to give the people the food and everything else that they need, but if they want a location to try to come up with a program. And the one I used as an example, I think it was President Roosevelt had this program whereby people would work, they'd get their food, they'd have a location to stay, but there would have to be consequences such as, you have to be sober when you're in here, and most of the sober houses have that. You can't be selling drugs. And if you're selling drugs inside here, I'm sorry, you're out. There has to be rules for that, for that type of thing. But I think that's one of the things when we put a package together to try to, because you don't want to find that it ruins it for everybody. But I think that's something we need to think about on and also see if we can find that accommodation. I think for the food, I think Council of Churches and Salvation Army, and Cynthia, I'm sorry, I didn't think of it, to see if they had, Salvation Army had a section, they might well, because I know they used to be dealing with the Noah shelter on a regular basis. And when I did an article on the Noah shelter and an interview, it was the Salvation Army, but I am told now that it's St. Joseph, it's the Council of Churches. So I think it's kind of bringing all those into the fold. We've got a task before us, but I think the outcome could be well worth it. I really do. I think you were muted there, Carlos.
No, I was gonna say, we're gonna try to also bring the business people in this conversation because those
I
people
am.
who are hungry, they work for them. And they're not making enough in order to support the family with the rentals and food and school and all that stuff. So the business people has a lot of responsibility on that too, so.
You're preaching to the choir. I agree with you. I've got a call in there too. Actually had a conversation with the person involved with that last week. So that is underway. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And Carlos, you contacted me at the LCPC meeting. I want people to know that, please feel free. Cynthia, if anyone wants my number, in fact, I really would like, if any, that's a good time to tackle that. Does anyone here have an objection to their contact details being given out to other committee members only?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so not so much home addresses, but phone numbers and phone numbers and email to be reached. If there's anyone that objects, please say so because it will be respected. So if we could put together a committee member list, which is just for the committee, not to be given out to the public without the committee members' permission. But that way, if you have, please feel free to reach me. Cynthia, I don't mind my home number being on there, but bear in mind, I'm not really here during the day.
Okay, very good. I'll list everybody's number and send it out to the committee.
I appreciate that. And as I said, both of my numbers, but if anyone has any ideas, Carlos, I'm so happy you reached out to me. Or if anything you think, hey, we forgot this, we forgot that. Have you thought of this? I don't really think that's a good idea. If you want to reach me because, maybe we're going down a rabbit hole or most hopefully, if there's something else or thoughts, it's, that's what we're here for.
I just want to ask you, Steve, if it is, I know this is besides our committee. Steve, if I set up a meeting with the Kip Diggs and you and Matt Levesque to talk about the emergency situation with the food in the town, can we do that?
I would love that. Yeah, I'd like to say a few things when we're ready to close, but yes, please.
I'd like to be included on that as well, if that's okay.
Sure, yes, sure.
So I'm going to go and turn it over to Steve. If nobody else has anything, is there anyone else before I turn it over to Steve? You're on.
Awesome. I love the passion. I think we all have hearts of servants, I call it. But yeah, it's frustrating with the food issue because I go all over the Cape and I see it. And why the town of Barnstable doesn't have one place that we can bring stuff and have people pick up at one place. I guess that's one of our goals. And in my mind, it would be food, it would be clothes, it would be, hats, gloves, whatever we could gather and use the business community to help us. Nobody in America and nobody on the Cape, and especially in Barnstable, should be hungry or cold. Because I see the other side, the stuff is out there. And I drive around all day, like today, from Buzzards Bay to Barnstable to Sandwich, giving out food, jackets. And if someday we could bring it all together, that would be wonderful. But it's Christmas time. I just wanted to say thank you, everybody, and Merry Christmas. But also remember, if you need a warm coat, we have hundreds and hundreds of brand new warm coats at the base, Joint Base Cape Cod. If you need toys, that's another part of my world. There's all kinds of toys in a warehouse in Yarmouth. And food, we have access to that too. The problem is it's ongoing. It never ends. But at least for the holidays, if you get stuck needing some clothes, brand new stuff, or toys, or a warm hat, or anything you can think of, please send me a text because that's not my state rep world. This is just me as just like you trying to help people. And because of my state rep world, I'm in the middle of a lot of places and I can put things together. And the last thing I'd say is, remember, in Sandwich, we just opened a food empowerment. We call it an empowerment center. So in Sandwich, we took the Sandwich police station that was basically condemned. They built a new one, thank God. And we made a deal with the town for $1. So here's an example, I guess, that you can think of. For $1, we made a 10-year lease. The idea was we had to flip it. And we have connections with the Ocean State Job Lot, Home Depot. And we took that building and made it look brand new. And now, if you're a veteran or military family or Gold Star family, all you do is register once and you go to that place that looks beautiful and you pick up 50 pounds of food every week for the rest of your life. No charge, zero. Food, medicine, diapers for babies. It's all in one building. It cost us $1. It cost us $100,000 to flip it, but we did it. And that's thanks to a guy named Don Cox and the Mass Military Support Foundation. So if we could, I just wanted you to know about that. Like if there's veterans or military families in Barnstable, they can go to Sandwich at least and get 50 pounds of food for free every week. And then maybe that's an idea for us to think about. Is there a building out there that we could, flip and make it into something for everybody, not just veterans, but everybody that needs something.
That's what I was saying, to check the buildings and that. Megan, I know you have a hand up, but I have a quick question if you don't mind, Steve. One,
Yeah.
can you be in touch with this Dan Cox? Is that right?
Don Cox, yeah.
Don, can you put me in touch with him and get me his details, if you wouldn't
Yes.
mind? And the
Yep.
other thing is the Joint Base Cape Cod, which I love because, and I get it sandwich and all that, there it is. Is that only for the holidays that you have that offering with coats and gloves and everything else?
Yeah, the coat, it's
Not
called
year-round.
Coats for Vets is usually in the holidays, but there's sometimes left over. But it's geared towards the holidays because of the winter months, with their winter coats. And we bend it a little bit. Like today, I brought baby food from the food pantry in Buzzards Bay because they don't have many young families that go there. Brought that to a baby center in Hyannis. And while I was there, I gave them coats, brand new winter coats for the mothers to wear. So the stuff is out there, but usually it's around the holidays.
Okay.
But any stuff like that, I just wanted to mention because Scott has been doing this a long time, and Carlos and Megan. I'm really excited in a way that I can see the future. But I think for Barnstable, it has to end up with one type of place that
I
people
agree.
can go for help. And it shouldn't be just veterans. It shouldn't be, homeless people. It's anybody. There's people with jobs that can't afford food. So,
But it's not just food. We have to remember that we
yes,
also,
it's anything. They have a lot of.
we are tasked with uniting the groups that are identified, which is 41, and there's a lot more, and to coordinate the community. Food is right up there, but to put the whole thing together and to bring it all together and to coordinate. I think that's kind of the key. But I think this is a very integral part of it. I agree.
And just to add to that, we have an empowerment center on the base. We've had that for 5 years. We took an old building, flipped it. So the main floor is a food pantry, but we call it an empowerment center. 50 pounds of food every week for active duty on the base. Now we made one in Sandwich for people that are not on the base. But when you go upstairs, and there's all the offices for all the services. So if you're having mental health issues, there's a nonprofit sitting up there. If you're having so it's like one place that you can go to get a lot of different services.
And that's exactly what I was saying. Cover
Yes.
all of them in different. You can't, if we just do food, and we're doing that, but we're leaving out maybe.
Yes. And if anybody wants to, maybe we do a field trip and I show it to you someday or whatever.
How about as soon as possible after the Christmas holidays?
That's a deal.
If you organize, is there
I
any?
love that. I love that, Steve.
Can I
Let's
ask,
do it.
is there Fridays are best for me or weekends? What about other people? And then Megan, I haven't forgotten about you.
Weekends would be best for me, but I could be flexible on a Friday as well.
Well, Saturday works.
Yep.
Yeah.
We just have to all like get in 1 or 2 vehicles. We get through the base, with me, and I have the key to the building, so I can show you all around.
Okay,
That's
I'll offer to
perfect.
drive as well. So there's one of your cars. So if you could organize that, Steve, please, and yeah, count me in. Megan, I'm sorry to make you wait.
Oh, that's fine. That's all awesome stuff. And Dawn is awesome. So I looked up the website for what I was telling you about the Supply Depot, and it's supplydepompls.com. And if you look on the get involved, I think tab, it tells you kind of about what they do individually. And then it has a bunch of links to all the things that they have, like a Walmart wish list that people can donate directly to. So it works for them in their location, but anything, that we'd want to do closely resembling that, we'd obviously make work for Cape Cod and what's around for us. So I don't know if anybody wanted to explore it, but that was the website.
Yeah, and I think the idea with Walmart is an extra, as I said, whatever we do, it's going to be a launching off point. And then it's a matter of building on it and maintaining and making it work. But it's just getting the core plan. I think, with the food pantry, of course, is great, but, something where it's also the mental health housing. I mean, one of the things I envisioned is the Cape Cod had mentioned, the healthcare had mentioned doing a teen center. And I was thinking we'll have to, if they would allocate a certain section for pantry and another, because they could bring in a housing specialist to help connect with the various group and the mental health to connect with the various groups. That's one thing, but if we can get another building, that's also good. So it's a matter of checking out if there is another premises that's available. So, there's all sorts of different ways of doing this. It's a matter of finding out the best way and the most cost effective to make it happen. Have I left anyone out? I don't see any other hands, but I don't always pick them all up because I only get so many pictures across the screen. I don't think I do. Is there anyone else? I think we've all got our tasks before us. I'll take it.
Carlos has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not a question, but a comment. I want to commend Steve because I swear to God, you being a representative, being so busy yourself and do what you're doing, I really appreciate that. And that's coming from a Democrat guy. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I don't look at it as politics or party. It's
Right,
people.
of course.
I was, like you, we were born with hearts to serve. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But thank you. That means a lot from you. But remember, I have toys, food, and coats. If you need anything between now and January 1st, let's say, just send me a text and we can get you something.
And let me ask you, if it's between now and January 1st, what do you do with the surplus after January 1st?
Good question. The coats sit in the warehouse.
Okay, so those might be accessible for us to help other people with.
Yes. Yes. So I'm glad you're thinking that way. I want you to kind of see what I'm talking about. So we'll do that field trip. And then with your different minds, you'll be able to expand it. But for now,
I have every intention of doing that.
yeah, but for now, don't let anyone go cold or hungry or spend money on toys. There's so many toys. And the last thing I'll say is on Sunday, if you see about 100 motorcycles freezing, that's our annual toy run. We bring toys to Cape Cod Hospital, and then we go to Falmouth Hospital, and we give them, hundreds of toys for the kids and the medical people at the hospitals. We do it every year just before Christmas. So that's this Sunday.
Okay. I'm just thinking because, okay, I might send you an email on that. I've got some ideas. But yes, I think if you've got toys and you've got coats, and
to your point, if we don't use it, it ends up in a warehouse stored for a whole year. you know.
So the question I ask you is, do you want to know the rough? I did this a lot with Child and Family when I was with them because we organized for a lot of donations to come in. You wouldn't believe the rooms we filled with toys and coats and everything else.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we were asked to, we did two things. One was to, we had to specify the family, the ages in the family and the genders. And if there's any preference on stuff. And two, did some families want to adopt? I think that's something for later on in the program, maybe for next year. Would anyone want to adopt a family for the holidays or, you know, for this type of thing? But does your, who has all these toys and that for the Joint Base Camp Cape Cod, do they want to know names and genders or not genders and ages?
When it comes to toys, that's Toys for Tots. That's the Marine Corps. That's in a warehouse in Yarmouth.
Okay.
And yes, they break it down by age groups, and it's amazing what these people do. They're all volunteers. The negative thing is when it ends, you know, at Christmas, they store whatever they have in trailers because they don't have a building. And then next year a business person lets them use a building for 3 months, and it's a different building every year, which is sad. But it's usually a building that's going to be torn down or remodeled. So if we had a space, like I think it just comes back, if we had one space that we could rely on all year round, it's amazing what's out there.
I agree. That's why. So Carlos, you have it set out for you, don't you? Sorry about that task. Yes, if you can organize something, Steve, I'd love to be a part of that. Any other committee members as well? I know Carlos said yes.
That's a deal.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone have anything else? I look for hands up in the air. I do not see any. All right. So I will get before the next meeting, you'll have the breakdown of everything. I'm glad we actually had the discussion tonight, and it looks like everybody's okay if I can bring Bornstein in to have that to get a better piece of how this all comes together and also bring in the addictions. Okay, so in that case, I think we are, hey, almost to 1 hour. We're good. I don't think we've missed anything. Anyone who has not done their conflict of interest training, please do so because it is a requirement. So before I ask for somebody to make a motion for adjournment, I'm going to wish everyone a very happy Christmas and a fantastic New Year. Have a motion for adjournment?
So move.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so in that case, State Representative and Committee Member Steve?
I couldn't hear you. Somebody was barking.
My dog might bark back. Did we have a second?
Yes.
Kim. So in that case, Kim seconded. So going through for the vote, Steve? Yes.
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Committee Member Carlos Barbosa?
Yes.
Committee Member Megan Mort?
Yes.
Committee Member Kim Crocker Crowther?
Yes.
We didn't come up with Liz. Happy Christmas to her. I also say yes. So we are in adjournment. Thank you, Cynthia, for being there tonight and for helping us out.
You're
Merry
very
Christmas,
welcome
everybody.
anytime.
Merry
Merry
Christmas,
Christmas,
everybody.
everybody.
Merry
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Carlos, Megan, everybody. God
Merry
bless.
Christmas, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.